The Genesis Electrified GV70 is one of the finalists to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award, and I'll tell you, this SUV has a lot going for it. Now, I'll admit this is not a cheap machine. As it sits, our tester checks out for about $74,000. That's a lot of money, but neither is it completely outrageous, and that's because the Genesis GV70 here gives you a ton for your money. For starters, this SUV looks great. It's sleek and modern, but not overwrought. The battery is also a charging champion. With DC fast charging, you can go from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes, which is a phenomenal performance. There's a boost mode here. You push the button, it gets you up to 483 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque for rapid acceleration. And how do you argue with any of that? Of course, the interior is absolutely gorgeous too. The overall design is oh so elegant, and the materials they have used are stunning. Beyond that, this SUV has minimal wind or tire noise when you're out driving, plus the ride is buttery smooth. Another candidate in the running to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award is the Mercedes-Benz EQE. Think of this sedan as basically an all-electric version of the E-Class because these two cars are very similar in size. So what we have here is an EQE 350 4MATIC. That's an all-wheel drive version of this sedan. With two electric motors on board, one at the front, one at the back, you get 288 horsepower and 564 pound-feet of torque. That's enough for a Mercedes-Benz estimated 0 to 60 romp of just 6 seconds flat, though I will tell you, this car does not feel quite that quick. It's a little bit slower than the numbers suggest, especially with 500 plus pound-feet of torque on tap. Anyway, battery pack in this vehicle clocks in at 90.6 kilowatt hours, which provides an estimated range of up to 260 miles in this trim, though you can get an EQE that tops out at 305 miles. Inside, this all-electric Mercedes-Benz is absolutely beautiful. The overall design is tasteful, and nearly all of the materials are of top quality. And of course, front and rear, there's plenty of space and comfort. Of course, tech is another one of the EQE's strengths. Ahead of the driver is an easily reconfigurable 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, and then over here on the center of the dashboard, we have a 12.8-inch portrait-style display. It's an OLED touchscreen that is absolutely beautiful. The infotainment system that runs on here, despite offering loads of functionality, is actually quite easy to learn. Naturally, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both offered, and each of these smartphone mirroring systems can connect to the MBUX infotainment system wirelessly, so there's no need to bring a cable, unless you want to, of course. Overall, I'm super impressed by the Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 4MATIC, and this car is a potential shoe-in to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award because it's spacious and comfortable, the interior is beautifully built, and the technology is great as well. Audi has significantly updated its e-tron SUV for the 2024 model year. In fact, the vehicle has a new name. It's now called the Q8 e-tron. But aside from that change, they also re-engineered the battery pack to both increase the driving range and the DC fast charging performance. Plus, they've enhanced this vehicle's driving dynamics. And I'll tell you, there is so much to like about this all-electric luxury SUV. Like I just mentioned, the biggest upgrade for 2024 is to the battery pack, and engineers figured out how to cram about 23% more cells into the same space, so they've dramatically increased the gross capacity of the battery pack, growing it from 95 kilowatt hours up to 114 kilowatt hours, a significant increase that has had a commensurate effect on this vehicle's range. As it sits, this model is rated by the EPA at 285 miles on a full charge. The battery's internal chemistry has also been improved, something that has bolstered the DC fast charging performance of this vehicle. It's now gone from 150 kilowatts up to a fairly impressive 170, which is enough to get you from 10 to 80% in just about 31 minutes. This all-electric SUV's performance really hasn't changed, but honestly, it didn't have to because you've got 355 horsepower and 414 pound-feet of torque. But when you engage boost mode, which you can do by either shifting to S mode with the gear selector or by going to the drive select system and going to the dynamic mode, you get 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque, enough to get the Q8 e-tron from 0 to 60 in about 5.4 seconds, which is plenty quick. Beyond that, engineers also improved the steering feel of this vehicle. They quickened the steering ratio, they made the front control arm bushings about 50% stiffer, and it drives noticeably better. It really does feel very crisp and precise through the steering wheel. Overall, the Q8 e-tron's interior is as nice as it's ever been, plus it is very comfortable. These front bucket seats in the Prestige model are lovely, plus they're heated, ventilated, and have massage functionality. Additionally, there's plenty of room in the back seat for adult-sized passengers, so everybody should be comfortable for quite a long trip in the Q8 e-tron. This updated Audi is a very strong offering. It's an excellent all-electric luxury SUV, and I think it has a very good chance of winning our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award. The Ford F-150 Lightning is probably the best all-electric pickup truck you can buy today. This thing has a comfortable and spacious interior. The range with the optional battery pack is very good, and of course the performance is astonishing. Beyond that, since this is basically just an F-150 with a couple electric motors and a battery pack, any accessories that work on a conventional F-150 should fit on this truck as well. Now, this is the base Pro trim, which eschews many of the fancy features found on higher-end F-150s, but I'll tell you, there is still plenty to like here. With the optional long-range battery pack, this truck offers 320 miles of range, which of course is very good, though it also has 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque for incredible acceleration. Inside, this cabin is not fancy, but it's still very comfortable and well built. On the floors and seats, we have vinyl, a material that should be very durable and easy to clean. Additionally, in front of the driver is a lovely digital instrument cluster, and then of course on the dashboard we have a massive 12-inch touchscreen running a Sync 4 infotainment system. And overall, you do get a lot of features in this truck, but no fripperies. But now for a couple downsides, and number one, even though this is the base Lightning, it is still pretty expensive. This example checks out for 66 grand, which ain't cheap. And point number two, you cannot buy a Lightning Pro with the extended range battery because Ford is only offering those to fleet customers, which is really unfortunate because this is a nice truck. This is a Ford Mustang Mach-E, an SUV that's in the running to be our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year. And here's a very quick overview of what this battery-powered pony is all about. From the base rear-wheel drive model all the way up to the high-performance GT, Ford offers a broad range of Mach-E configurations, and really there's a version of this SUV for just about everyone. But I think this premium all-wheel drive model with the larger 91 kilowatt-hour battery pack lands right in the sweet spot. This thing offers excellent performance, 346 horsepower, 428 pound-feet of torque, enough to get you from 0 to 60 in just 4.8 seconds. The range here is fantastic as well. This vehicle is EPA rated at 290 miles on a charge, which is frankly fantastic for an all-wheel drive EV. Inside, this Mach-E's interior is nice, well built, and the materials are all of good quality, even if it's not quite as ritzy as what you get in some of Hyundai's latest EVs. Now, thanks to a fairly recent software update, the Sync 4A infotainment system that runs on this gorgeous 15.5-inch display is more responsive and intuitive than before. Now, the Mach-E also comes standard with Blue Cruise, Ford's latest and greatest hands-free driving aid. This system works amazingly well on limited access divided highways, and it will now even change lanes automatically. Just tap the turn signal and the car does the rest. Now, overall, this is far from the flashiest EV you can buy today, though it is a very well-rounded package. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is one of the best electric vehicles you can buy today. But is it good enough to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award? Well, I don't know. What makes the Ioniq 5 such an excellent vehicle is that it excels at practically everything. This limited all-wheel drive model here offers 266 miles of range, which is very good, though of course you can get the Ioniq 5 with more than 300 miles of range if that is what you want. This limited all-wheel drive model also comes with 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque for strong acceleration, and I'll tell you, this thing is plenty quick. It's also a DC fast charging champion. It can go from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes, which is amazing. We actually verified that figure in our testing, so believe it, it's true. Now beyond that, this car also has unmistakable styling, retro-futuristic design that looks like nothing else on the road today. Inside, this Hyundai's cabin is absolutely lovely, surprisingly premium with very nice materials, and of course, excellent build quality. Comfort is also another high point. 6-footers will have no trouble riding either front or rear. Plus, we have a sliding center console that increases versatility, plus it's a clever touch. The Ioniq 5 is a superb machine that I suspect will be a front-runner to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award. This is the Kia Niro EV, and it's in the running to be our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year. Now, there's lots to love about this battery-powered crossover, and not just the attractively low price. You see, the Niro EV starts at just about $41,000, including destination fees, which makes it kind of a screaming deal. Beyond that, this vehicle has a comfortable and well-built interior. It's refined, drives very well, and comes with all kinds of technology. I'm talking about features like adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go capability, automatic high beams, and lane centering, to name a few. Now, range and DC fast charging performance are probably this vehicle's biggest weaknesses, though they're not necessarily deal breakers. All in, with a full battery, the Niro should be able to go 253 miles on a charge, which isn't too bad, while DC fast charging tops out at just 85 kilowatts. Not the best performance in the industry today, though it's still enough to beat a Chevy Bolt or Nissan Leaf. The Ioniq 6 is Hyundai's super sleek all-electric sedan, and when it comes to getting the most range for your dollar, this is one of the best cars in the business. Properly equipped, the base SE model with the larger 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack and 18-inch wheels is rated by the EPA at a stellar 361 miles on a charge. That is frankly fantastic, but that is not all, because this car is also a DC fast charging champ. It should top out at around 235 kilowatts, which is enough to get you from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. Now sure, some electric vehicles are a lot cheaper than this Hyundai. There's the Chevy Bolt and Nissan Leaf. Of course, some other models do offer more range, including the Tesla Model S and the Lucid Air. But very few EVs sit in the sweet spot that the Ioniq 6 does, that offers a perfect blend of price and range, because as it sits, this car again gets you 361 miles, and it costs less than 47 grand. Slippery styling helps this car slice through the wind and gives it a coefficient of drag of just 0.22. Obviously, aerodynamics plays a major role in delivering that eye-popping range estimate. As for performance, of course, this is not the fastest thing on four wheels. It does have a single rear-mounted electric motor that provides 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, and those numbers deliver perfectly adequate performance. You will not be wanting for power or torque in everyday use, though of course other versions of the Ioniq 6 are appreciably quicker than this SE model. Inside, the Ioniq 6 is lovely even in the base trim. The plastics are attractively grained, everything is well built, and the fabric on these seats does feel very nice and sturdy. Additionally, there's plenty of technology, because as in other Hyundais, we've got a pair of 12.3-inch displays on the dashboard, both a digital instrument cluster that's crisp and clear, plus a touchscreen over here toward the center of the vehicle, where a very responsive and intuitive infotainment system resides. Beyond that, you also get plenty of driver aids in this car. Advanced features like adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go capability. There's lane centering, and then of course front and rear parking sensors, so there's no excuse for backing into somebody. When it comes to comfort, these front seats are nice and supportive. Plus, in the back, there's plenty of legroom and a very nice flat floor. Though if you are taller, be aware, headroom is a little bit tight because of that arcing roofline. Overall, the Hyundai Ioniq 6 is a fantastic EV, one that offers loads of range for an exceedingly fair price. But is that enough for this sleek sedan to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award? This is a Rivian R1T. It's an all-electric midsize truck that offers loads of performance and clever features. Now, if you're not concerned about purchasing a new vehicle from a startup automaker, there's a lot to love here. This truck is available with several different battery sizes and drivetrain configurations, but our tester here is fitted with the top dog quad motor setup that's good for 835 horsepower and 908 pound-feet of torque, which is enough to get this thing from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds flat. Quad motor models are offered with the mid-size battery, though depending on configuration, this truck is available with either a larger pack or a smaller one. As it sits, however, this particular example is rated at 274 miles of range. We also have a 4-corner adjustable air suspension system that provides up to 14.9 inches of ground clearance and, when properly equipped, allows this mid-size pickup to drive through more than 43 inches of water. Inside, the R1T's cabin is absolutely gorgeous. Not only is the overall design super clean and elegant, but the build quality is excellent, and many of the materials used are of very high quality, including this open-pore ashwood trim. We've also got a lovely 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, as well as a 15.6-inch central touchscreen, and both of these displays are absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, this vehicle does not support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but the native infotainment system is pretty amazing. This is easily one of the fastest and most responsive multimedia arrays I have ever seen in a vehicle. Plus, it looks great and it's surprisingly intuitive. There's so much to love about the new Rivian R1T, but unfortunately, all of this excellence does not come cheap. As it sits, this high-end example checks out for about $96,400. Yikes. The Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV does a lot of things very well, which should be no surprise since this is basically an EQE sedan that was left to rise like bread dough in a warm corner. This utility vehicle is comfortable, spacious, and richly appointed, though unfortunately, it has no crispy crust. And now I'm hungry. This happens to be a mid-range EQE 350 4MATIC with all-wheel drive. It's got a rather middling 288 horsepower, but making up for that is torque and lots of it. This thing has 546 pound-feet, enough to move it smartly off the line, though this vehicle's vigor does taper off at higher speeds. Still, Mercedes-Benz says this thing should be able to hit 60 miles per hour in an entirely respectable 6.2 seconds. An air suspension system is available on this SUV for an additional $1,900. However, our tester here does not have this feature, which is perfectly fine because it is still super refined and just glides along the road. As for the cabin, it is excellent as well, stylish and made of very high quality materials. Comfort is praiseworthy too. These front seats are excellent, and there's plenty of head and legroom in the back seat for 6-foot-tall passengers. You also get a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that is crisp and clear, plus a beautiful 12.8-inch touchscreen here on the center of the dashboard. And this, of course, is home to an intuitive and responsive MBUX infotainment system. And honestly, when it comes to technology, there's very little to complain about. So as it sits, this EQE SUV checks out for about $91,000, which of course is a lot of money, but the vehicle does feel like it's worth the asking. Our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award is coming soon, and the Nissan Ariya is in the running. But does this battery-powered SUV have what it takes to win? Well, from features to comfort, there's actually a lot to like here. This higher-end mPower Plus front-wheel drive model has 289 miles of range, which is a good, if not stellar, figure. As for performance, a single front-mounted electric motor provides 238 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque for good performance. Now, one of this Nissan's biggest weaknesses is DC fast charging performance. The vehicle tops out at just 130 kilowatts, which unfortunately is not very competitive right now. Underway, this Ariya is very refined with a smooth ride and surprisingly quick steering that makes the vehicle feel quite agile. The seats are also very comfortable, and there's plenty of space in the back for 6-foot-tall passengers. Two unique features set this vehicle apart from other SUVs in the market right now. And number one, it has a power sliding center console. At the push of a button, this whole piece moves forward or back to better accommodate drivers of different heights. The second feature of note, there's a power-operated storage cubby right in the dashboard. It's surprisingly deep, and it's a great place for storing stuff out of sight. Of course, you can close the lid and you've got a little shelf where you can set other items when you're parked. How cool is that? The enthusiast-focused EV6 GT offers loads of style and performance. In fact, this is the most powerful production Kia ever built. It's got 576 horses and 546 pound-feet of torque. But is that enough for this battery-powered beast to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award? Well, it's a definite maybe. Helping manage all of that giddy-up and a 0 to 60 time of just 3.4 seconds, the EV6 GT features a retuned suspension system with adjustable dampers. It has a quickened steering ratio, and there's an electronically controlled locking rear differential. And then, of course, inside, there are sport bucket seats that really lock you in place when you're out driving hard. Of course, there are a few trade-offs for all that speed. The EV6 GT does cost thousands of dollars more than other all-wheel drive EV6s, and I'll be honest, the range ain't that great. According to the EPA, it tops out at just 206 miles on a charge. Still, the EV6 GT is a compelling and a seriously quick car that has a great opportunity of being our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year. We're getting ready to announce our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year, and the Lexus RZ 450e is in the running to win. So, what does this battery-powered SUV have going for it? Well, for starters, it's comfortable, spacious, and extremely well built. Plus, you have got to love this steely blue paint job. The color is called Ether, and I think it's worth every penny of the $500 they charge for it. As you can see, the RZ 450e has very angular and aggressive styling, so it fits in very nicely with the broader Lexus lineup. Now, undoubtedly, some of you will love this vehicle's design, but others, probably not so much. Inside, the cabin shares the same basic theme. This interior is angular and futuristic, and it feels very cocoon-like, very enveloping. As for comfort, the seats are lovely up front. There's plenty of room in the back for 6-footers, and this interior features lots of eco-friendly and very high-quality materials, though there's one interesting thing missing. They do not have a glove box in the RZ cabin, which is very unusual, especially for a luxury vehicle. As for range, when fitted with the standard 18-inch wheels, you should be able to go 220 miles on a charge, which isn't all that great, though if you opt for the available 20-inch rollers, that number drops to just 196. Indeed, the RZ's biggest weakness is range. But at least the performance is very good. With standard all-wheel drive and 308 horsepower on tap, the RZ 450e can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5 seconds flat. It is plenty quick. This right here is a Volkswagen ID.4, a handsome and premium-feeling SUV. And if you're in the market for an all-electric vehicle, this could be the one for you. A new 62 kilowatt-hour battery pack is standard in this vehicle for the latest model year to help lower that base price, though unfortunately it only gets you up to 209 miles of range, which is not all that much. The good news, however, is that if you want more, an 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack is once more available, and that'll get you up to 275 miles on a full charge. Again, it's a lot better than the 62 kilowatt-hour battery, though it is a little bit short of the 300 miles we typically like to see. Rear-wheel drive ID.4s have a single permanent magnet electric motor mounted at the back axle, and that dynamo provides 201 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque, which is enough for decent, if not stellar, performance. All-wheel drive versions of this SUV, however, gain a second motor mounted up front, which really increases those numbers. It gets you 295 horses and 339 pounds of twist, which is enough to propel this vehicle from a standstill to 60 miles per hour in less than 6 seconds. Inside, the ID.4's cabin feels comfortable and well built. The materials are of surprisingly high quality, and some of them have been updated for 2023. These front seats are very nice. There's plenty of space both front and back for 6-foot-tall passengers, and overall there's quite a lot to like about this vehicle's cabin. But the biggest enhancement for the latest model year is right here, because a 12-inch touchscreen is now standard across the ID.4 range, and the infotainment system that runs on here has also been somewhat simplified to make it more intuitive, though this is still not one of my preferred systems that's out there. As before, we still have touch sliders on the dashboard, both for the dual-zone climate control system as well as audio volume. And when you do use these, they are surprisingly responsive, though unfortunately none of them are backlit, so you can't see them at night. And honestly, why not just have a volume knob? That's really the simplest solution. Another curious choice is right over here. We've got multimodal window switches. So instead of having 4 individual controls, we only have 2, and they will operate the front windows, but if you want to lower the rears, you've got to toggle a separate touch button. And this is fine, but it's kind of an answer to a question that nobody asked. Like, just put 4 window switches in. It's not that expensive or difficult. This Volkswagen also comes standard with plenty of driver aids, amenities like traffic sign recognition, lane keeping assist. There's parking sensors on the outside of the vehicle, plus you get adaptive cruise control with stop and go capability, as well as lane centering. Well, this Volkswagen ID.4 is in the running to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award. Shopping for a compact, all-electric SUV that's both premium and comfortable? Well, you should consider the Mercedes-Benz EQB 350 4MATIC. Even though it has a couple downsides, which I'll get to in just a minute, there is a lot to like here. Essentially a battery-powered version of the conventional GLB, the EQB has a very nice interior, a handsome body, and this thing is even available with a third-row seat, though this particular example is not fitted with one. All EQBs come with a lithium-ion battery with 66.5 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, and unfortunately this pack will only DC fast charge at 100 kilowatts, which is not competitive in this day and age. As for range, our tester right here tops out at an EPA estimated 221 miles, which again is not all that great. As for performance, the EQB 350 4MATIC has 288 horsepower as well as 384 pound-feet of torque, and that delivers very strong performance, particularly at lower speeds right off the line. It's enough to get you from 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds flat, though I will say this vehicle's acceleration, its enthusiasm does wane at higher speeds. It does start to feel just a little bit winded. Inside, this Mercedes-Benz SUV's cabin is surprisingly nice. We have lots of high-quality materials, lots of soft plastic, there's contrast color stitching, the controls feel good, and the technology is great as well. As for comfort, these front seats are very firm, and the back bench has lots of room as well, plus it's slightly elevated, so the sight lines forward are pretty good. Overall, I like this EQB more than I probably should, but does it have what it takes to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award? Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. This right here is a 2024 Nissan Leaf, and it happens to be in SV Plus trim, but still, this is one of the most affordable new electric vehicles that you can buy in the US today. However, there's a lot more to this little hatchback than just a low price. So what else does the humble Leaf have going for it? Well, honestly, compared to newer EVs, not a whole lot. This particular example happens to be fitted with the larger 60 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that gets you an EPA estimated range of just 212 miles, which is not very impressive for the 2024 model year. And when it's time to DC fast charge, you had better be patient, because the Leaf here is one of the only cars sold in the US that is fitted with a CHAdeMO port, and for whatever reason in our market, charging is capped at just 50 kilowatts, which is not competitive. As for performance, this particular example is fitted with a front-mounted electric motor that's good for 214 horsepower. Again, not a terribly impressive figure, though this car does perform quite well. I will say the low and mid-range torque is very impressive, so this thing scoots right off the line, though it does start to feel just a little bit winded, of course, at higher speeds. Inside, the Leaf's cabin is a lot nicer than you might expect. The overall dashboard design is very clean. Yes, we do have a lot of hard plastic, but it is attractively grained and everything is well built. Plus, the controls are pretty much dead simple to use, and they do have a high quality feel. So really, there's a lot to like inside this car. We also have a decent amount of amenities in this particular example. There's blind spot monitoring, automatic emergency braking, automatic high beams. There's a 360-degree camera system. There's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, always great to have. Plus, we've got Pro Pilot Assist, which is Nissan's version of adaptive cruise control with lane centering. It works very well. It's nice to have. This particular Leaf checks out for $38,210, which is not an unreasonable sum. I mean, it's thousands less than the average new vehicle transaction price in the US today. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but cars are expensive, and fortunately, the Leaf isn't. So that is a very quick look at the Nissan Leaf, but to check out the other cars and trucks that are in the running to win our EV Pulse Electric Vehicle of the Year award, click right over here.